Hey Denchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it's 420 today, at least the day that I'm recording. I might not get it out that day, but I decided it would be a better day than ever to review the fourth studio album from 24-year-old Detroit producer GRiZ. Now, this album's called Say It Loud. I probably already mentioned that, but I'm just forgetting at this point. I'm trying to review as fast as I can right now because I'm in a rush to go on vacation, so let's get into this. Now, GRiZ specializes in jazz-infused EDM, electronic dance music. If you don't know what that means, then you should probably leave. The album has a lot of vibes that I hear maybe on some Macklemore styles, with this first track called The Anthem, and it's kind of got this nice little beat, and it wasn't extremely impressive as a kickoff track, but I liked it regardless. This album, as a whole, is very good, and I was very pleased to hear it. I might have to check out some more GRiZ. I think classically he produces dubstep, but this album is definitely something that fans of Big Gigantic and Haywire will go nuts over. I'm a huge fan of Haywire. I love his style. His last album, Twofold Part 1, actually made my top 10 albums of 2014, so that was cool, and this album might perhaps too. If I went right now, it might possibly make the top 10, but it'll probably be booted down by the end of the year, considering I've listened to so many albums this year. So, in other words, I was really impressed with this album. A lot of it was very interesting and very groovy and catchy. There's some nice guitar riffs and sax on a lot of tracks, and that was very interesting to hear, considering I haven't been exposed to much of that music. I don't listen to much Big Gigantic. I probably should have reviewed their last album, except I wasn't reviewing albums back when that one came out, so I did like that last album they did, though. Fairly short record, but definitely worth a few listens. I've mentioned before with albums that if they make it too long and just put a few tracks in, it would almost be better to make it a shorter album, like Haywire did. 8 tracks, but all amazing tunes, and even though it is only 8 tracks, then it was still enjoyable all the way through, so it's going to get my higher rating. And that's kind of where this album was going. There's a couple tracks I didn't really enjoy. I'm going to get those out of the way so I can talk about the positives of this record. Did I mention it's also free, so you can actually just go grab a free download, and you don't have to pay anything. You can get it on iTunes if you want, but the icing on the cake, as Lucas Socks, Video EDM said, is that this album is 100% free, so you can just go grab it and do whatever you want with it. I'm sure GRiZ wouldn't mind you remixing a little, bootlegging it, or whatever. Do whatever you want with the album. It's definitely worth the free price. Probably even worth paying for it on iTunes, which I haven't yet. But if it comes out on CD, I'll definitely have to grab it because this is a good album. Like I said, I'm going to get my least favorites out of the way. The first of which is A Fine Way to Die, and I didn't think the vocals were the best on this, and a couple of these tracks is just kind of boring, and that's kind of what got me. Definitely some good vibes, and they're chill, but not extremely impressive. Another thing where this song went wrong is that it was just too long, and the bass line on this is super catchy and groovy, but the fact that it was just so long and drawn out that I just didn't really like it. There's also a track called For the Love, and it kind of builds up really awesomely and has a rap. But for some reason, I think on a couple of these tracks, the mixing actually seems a little bad, and I think it was on this one, the rap just seemed like super quiet, and I was struggling to be able to hear it, and I think that could have been a little better, and now I'm starting to think maybe it's my headphones issue, because I saw that a little bit on the Alice in Wonderland album. I was saying it was mixing a little weird, but maybe I am just right, and I'm starting to be able to hear things. I don't know, but this track was not one of my favorites. It's interesting, just a little boring. That's all I thought about this one. Let's get into the rest of the album, because dang, this thing is fire. There's a track called Funk Party, which kind of sounds like it's trying to be Recessed by Skrillex, and like I said, this album is undertoned with a lot of EDM vibes, and it's got saxophone and all these different jazz influences, which sounds so awesome. Infused with EDM, which I'm going to have to look forward to a lot more in the future. I think Big Gigantic's got a new song with Snails, and that's kind of the dubstep jazz style that I want to hear more of, so I'm definitely going to have to listen to that track a little more. There's a track called Get Down, which is very versatile, and Use a lot of different instruments. You've got the bass guitar, you've got the sax, the rhythm guitar, lots of different jazz influences, and even though this retains a similar style to the rest of the album, it doesn't seem boring at all, and the drop on this is fantastic. There's a track called It's All Good, and that one just a little bit, reminded me of the tune Febreze by Jack U, and I love that I can mention that again because I've got comments on me saying Febreze, so it reminded me of Febreze by Jack U. Good tune, definitely solid. Love the groovy, soulful vocals on this, and definitely worth one of my top placements for the record. Like I said, some of the vocals seem a little out of whack with the mixing, but on the track Stop Trippin', even though this happens, it doesn't really bother me, and I think it kind of fits in a little better. Even though the mixing seems a little odd, I still managed to like it and enjoyed this tune a lot more than a few of the other tracks on the record. There's a track called Headspace, Time Is On Our Side, and this one actually reminded me, I think with the guitar, I think that's what the instrument is, don't quote me on that, but there's a little kind of instrument, and it actually reminds me of Daydreamer by 2/3, and I love that track so much. I listened to it probably 100 times last year after I discovered it. That's one of the tracks on Monster Cat that I like the best from last year. One of those indie tracks, and that's what I was kind of picking up with this one. It's definitely cool, and it's more of an interlude style, but it manages to be interesting, and I just love this style of music, and I want to hear more and more of it. I'd love to hear a whole album full of ambient sounds and this type of music. I'm not going to bother going over the bonus track. The final track's called Turnin', and it's more of just a chill, not really let down as in my opinions on this, but let down as in it kind of just chills out the tone and brings it down for the very end of the record, from the massive hype to the beginning to the a little more slow down, like with the track Headspace, and then you get this final track which is just kind of chill. I thought it was a little boring, but I think in the context of the record it definitely works. Now, as you probably figured out, I really like this album. Probably not as amazing as I want to list it as. I'm going to give this album a 7.5 out of 10, which I think is pretty good considering I've given a lot of records worse. It's mainly because the second half of this record, a lot of it was just boring, and I wanted to enjoy it, but even though it fits in the context of the record, and I appreciate GRiZ for doing this, and he's actually won over a new fan, because I didn't really like him before, and he actually came to a local show recently, I think it was last fall, near here, and I just didn't go because I wasn't really interested, but he's definitely won over a new fan with this album. Like I said, 7.5, make sure to go grab your free download. I might link it in the description, maybe, probably should, just so you guys can grab that anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed this little review. GRiZ, say it loud. Have a good day.